Rambam explains that we are obligated to enforce the 7 laws of Bnei Noach, and this is a command from heaven. This is what the Rambam clearly says, that Moshe Rabbeinu was commanded, directed by God, mipi advua, from heaven, to enforce, that means to teach and enforce the laws of the 7 mitzvot Bnei Noach to all mankind, not only in Eretz Yisrael, not only a ger toshav that is living in Israel, but everywhere, including lands that don't belong to Am Yisrael, and we have no plans on taking them, and we have no government over the Bnei Noach there, but still, as a law from heaven, Am Yisrael has the obligation to teach and enforce the laws of Sheva Mitzvot Bnei Noach in whatever capabilities they have. And the Rebbe stressed the fact that although we're not enforcing by corporal, enforcing by punishing and so on, but the influence of teaching and explaining is the obligation overall and everywhere. This innovation of the Rambam, which the Rebbe came out in his call, is a very important understanding of what is the exact status of the 7 laws of Bnei Noach. And it is not a simple idea, because we find the Ramban, Nachmanides, another leading rabbi a bit after the time of the Rambam, okay, we'll call him in English Nachmanides, and Maimonides. Nachmanides has a different opinion on the subject totally. A totally different opinion. And it's very important to understand that, because I've heard from other rabbis that mix the two opinions and they make a salad out of the two things, which obviously when you make a salad, so you lose from this and you lose from that and you don't get anything genuine. Let's start with the opinion of the Nachmanides, and then we'll appreciate better what the Rebbe is teaching us, which we should follow the opinion of Maimonides. According to Nachmanides, a ger toshav is a Noahide that voluntarily came and said he wants to accept upon himself the yoke of heaven and the 7 laws of Bnei Noach. And Nachmanides explains that till a Noahide, a Ben Noach, will accept upon himself these 7 laws, he is in a lesser degree of obligation. He's obligated, but not exactly obligated, and he doesn't receive any reward. But if he wants to come to the complete level of a person that's commanded and receive reward because he's commanded by God to do these, he has to receive upon himself what is called a Kabbalah, that means accepting upon himself before a court to become a ger toshav. According to the Nachmanides, a ger toshav is a extra status or a better status of Bnei Noach. Bnei Noach is just the people, without regarding to what their status in the obligation of 7 mitzvot Bnei Noach are, or at least not in a complete way. But the ger toshav is the Chasid Umot HaOlam, according to Nachmanides. The ger toshav is a person that came on his own and volunteered and request that he wants to receive upon himself the yoke of the mitzvot, the yoke of heaven, and he becomes a righteous Gentile. This is the opinion of Nachmanides. Nachmanides never mentions that the reason that the Noahides will accept upon themselves this extra dimension is because it was commanded by God in the Torah through Moses at Mount Sinai. He doesn't mention that at all. And there was a former command to Adam and Noach, and that's enough. A ger toshav has to come up and say, I want to do the mitzvot as commanded by God, as commanded to Adam, as commanded to Noach. This seemingly has nothing to do at all with Mount Sinai and the receiving of the Torah. Obviously, the Nachmanides doesn't mention the whole issue of Jews going out of their way in influencing and enforcing and teaching. In other words, according to Nachmanides, a Ger Toshav is a righteous Gentile that on his own voluntarily came and called out and said, I want to come closer to God, help me. And we as Jews have to help him. But we are not obligated to go and try to influence a Noahide that is just sitting on the street and doesn't know anything or doesn't want. We don't have to try to influence him, and definitely not to enforce him to do the 7 laws. If he's not under our government, what do we care? This is the Nachmanides' opinion. Now we can appreciate the innovation of the Rambam and his opinion of what is the connection of the Noahide to Hashem and the Torah. The Rambam clearly says, now according to the Rambam, a Ger Toshav is no status at all in his receiving of more mitzvot or a deeper dimension of receiving the mitzvot. No. A Ger Toshav is an equal name to any Ben Noaख़. Any Ben Noaख़ everywhere is a Ger Toshav, and every Ger Toshav must be a Ben Noaख़, and all Bnei Noaख़ and Gerim Toshavim must receive the 7 mitzvot of Bnei Noaख़, and we as Jews are commanded to even enforce this. The difference between a Ger Toshav and a Bnei Noaख़ is more in the society area of how Jews have to relate to a righteous Ben Noaख़. When we meet a righteous Ben Noaख़, we say, this Ben Noaख़ is the status of a Ger Toshav. He has rights of living in Eretz Israel, and even outside of Israel, Jews have to care for his needs to some dimension, and to save him, because he's a righteous Gentile. But there's no extra and additional dimension in doing of the mitzvot, or being more commanded, that is called a Ger Toshav, according to the Rambam. That's definite. But the bigger innovation and the more important point of the Rambam is that we are commanded from Hashem through Mount Sinai to go out and not wait for the Bnei Noaख़ to voluntarily ask and come. And this is the call of the Rebbe, to go out and teach them and instruct them and to call them and bring them and to enforce with not compelling physically, but compelling by explaining. So even if the Ben Noaख़ is not interested, we are supposed to try to influence him. And that's what the Rambam is teaching us, that Hashem commanded Jews to go out and instruct the Goyim everywhere, regardless if they're going to become a Ger Toshav or not, if they're going to live in Eretz Yisrael. We are called by God to go out and call all of humanity. The Rambam says clearly, Kol Ba'ei Olam, to call them out and to teach them, just like Avraham Avinu did, that there is one God, and all humanity must serve him, and the way of serving him is in the 7 laws of Noaख़, and that's applicable for everybody, regardless if they want it, they don't want it, they accept it or not. We have to try our best to teach them. And the second point is that they, the Noahides, are always commanded and connected to God. You have to understand that a person that's commanded, he's connected to God. If the Noahides are not commanded, and if they did not decide yet to voluntarily be commanded, they're not connected to God. Because God has nothing to say to them. He says, okay, you guys do whatever you want. You're not going to receive reward anyway, even in case that you do the right thing. Because you don't accept me, so we have no connection. The Rambam clearly states that God's message in Mount Sinai is to all of humanity, and even those that are not Jews, he is calling out to them to accept and be the righteous Gentile. And we as Jews that receive the Torah are the messengers to give this out, to teach this, and to inform this to everybody.